Hey guys, Rob Shoecraft with 3 Storm Fitness here. Today I'm going to talk about AMRAP, or as many reps as possible, and AFFAP is as fast as possible, say 100 push-ups as fast as possible. I'm going to talk about different approaches and different kind of training principles, strategies that you can incorporate for those basically what it comes down to is high rep muscular endurance exercises. I'm going to talk primarily about push-ups. That's usually the most common time that you'll see this, whether on a physical fitness test or even at the end of the workout. For instance, I just did Strong Bastard 911, and in there features as many push-ups as you can get in 4 minutes. So I'll kind of compare that to, let's say, going in a police academy. I think you have to get 40 push-ups in a minute and a half. I think that's what it is. Whatever the number is, we'll use those 2 examples. That's how we're going to start. So, in this example over here, the test or a competition. And then you have everything else over here, which is, we'll just call that training. So it might be a workout for the day. Like I said, SB 911 is a workout I just did that featured it. A lot of different CrossFit WODs have AMRAP featured. It could be thrusters, it could be pull-ups, push-ups, whatever, as many reps as possible. A lot of these principles, if I didn't say it already, are gonna remain the same. So let's start off over here. If you're not doing a test or competition that in your mind you have to win, and otherwise you're entering it to pass or to win, then you're going to be in this other category here. I don't know if you can see that line, but we're over on that side of the line right now. So when you're training, as many reps as possible, as fast as possible, you're going fast. Speed is your friend. And now the reason for this is, well, let's just say this. Anybody who's felt the burn, I'm not going to go into the physiological details, but anybody who's felt the burn before, you know that once you start hitting that, once everything gets, and you feel the lactic acid building up, maybe you start breathing hard, even doing something like push-ups, which is not really a classic cardiovascular exercise. You start breathing hard like you've been running. Your body's trying to expel all that CO2 through the lactic, anyways, I told you I'm going to get into physiology. Here I go. I'm backing out. You feel the burn. It's hard. You want to get as many reps as you can in before the burn sets in. That's your goal. The main difference between these 2 exercises, though, between these 2 scenarios, is on the when you're training, you want to be in control the whole time. So you want to get as many controlled reps in as fast as you can. Now, if we're doing push-ups, this is a legitimate push-up. We'll have a nice, slow, controlled tempo. But it's not necessary. You don't have to go that slowly just because you are trying to go, or you don't have to go that slowly for it to be a legitimate push-up. This is also a legitimate push-up in an AMRAP situation. The idea here is, now the difference was just the time. I had a slower descent. I probably had a 2-second eccentric portion, quick hold at the bottom, and a 2-second concentric portion on the first example. On the second, it was probably half second down, half second up. Both of those are totally fine. The second would be a lot better, again, as quickly as possible. So anyways, the difference is I'm in control through all 4 stages of that movement. At the top, we've talked a lot about push-ups in other videos. At the top, all my proper muscles are tense, they're recruited, they're where they need to be. As I lower down, I'm in control, I'm pulling myself down. I'm not just flopping down, which we'll talk about in a second. And at the bottom of the push-up, I'm totally in control too, just like at the top. I can, if I wanted to, and now this would be a bad approach to try to get as many push-ups as you can, but if I wanted to, I should be able to move around because I'm in total control of that bottom position. And as I push up, you guessed it, I'm in control. So the key is, they're all legitimate push-ups as long as you are in control of all 4 stages of the movement. So let's shift over to the competition test scenario. Say you got to get those 40 push-ups in a minute and a half. Now, if depending on how, sorry, my camera cut out, this doesn't splice right. But let me show you the difference. So we had one over here, which is the controlled push-up that we're using for like our workout programs or workout of the day. And then we have the other push-up that I'll show you, get in detail here in a second. It's for like a test or a competition. See if you can tell the difference. Other than being a little faster on the second run, could you tell what I was doing there? I don't know. I don't know how good this camera is or how good your eyes are, but what I was doing was minimizing the eccentric part of the movement, minimizing the lowering portion of it. That again is it's the most difficult part of the movement. That applies to squats, push-ups, pull-ups, the lowering part, the concentric part, the lift itself. Even they named the push-up. They didn't name the lower down. They named it the push-up. It's what gets all the credit. And no one's impressed with a guy who can do a negative of 500 pounds. Maybe like a hardcore meathead who knows how hard that would be. But you don't say how much can you lower down to your body in a controlled fashion. You say how much can you bench, meaning how much of the concentric portion. But the part that does the part that's the most metabolically demanding, part that has the most stress on your muscles, basically the hardest part is the eccentric, the lowering portion. So, like I said, we're minimizing that part. Now, I've talked in all my videos about being in control of every part of the motion, both to get the most that you can out of the lift, but also for safety's sake, for the sake of your joints. I always say don't use your joints like trampolines. This might be the exception. When there's money on the line, I personally throw out my own rules and use my joints like trampolines. It's still legit in the eyes of the rules, and most rules anyway. Like I think for a police test, you just have to basically you have to do a full push-up, has to look like a push-up, and you have to have your chest down to somebody's fist on the floor. So, what I'm doing there, I'm not completely flopping. I'm not completely just dropping out. But I'm not in full control the whole time. I'm coming down and sort of bouncing off. Not bouncing off the floor, bouncing off my end range of motion. Takes a little bit of finesse, a little getting used to. Maybe do a couple dry runs just to feel it out. This is, by the way, how a lot of people do just all of their push-ups or all of their pull-ups. In the case of pull-ups, it's going to look like this, where this is a legitimate pull-up, all the way controlled down to the bottom, down to the top. By the way, down to the bottom, I'm not completely relaxed. I'm still engaged. It's not a total dead hang. But in the case of this, in a pull-up test, I might be more like this. I'm sort of dropping myself down and springing back up. You see, like, you watch a lot of dudes and girls as well in the CrossFit games when they're doing pull-ups. First of all, they're doing like the kipping pull-ups. Say what you want about those. It's still pretty darn hard when you're doing 30 of them in a row. But they're springing up and down. It takes a lot of time to get your joints. Some would argue that it's not good for anybody to do that. But let's just throw that out for a second. In order to maximize safety, let's just put it that way. It takes a long time for your connective tissue and your shoulders, hips, knees, whatever, to grow. I think it's something like anywhere from 4 to 10 times as long as it does your muscles. So it takes a long time to get conditioned enough to be able for your joints to be able to take a beating like that. Keep that in mind. Always keep this in mind. Like, this is just the way that I would do it if I was going to do a test. I would eliminate the eccentric part, or at least minimize it, so I could bounce up and down. It's still going to be hard. You're still going to have to push it, but you're going to get a few more reps in that way. You can kind of hedge your bets. One other thing I wanted to talk about is, in the case of where you're training, you're not doing the tests. We're done talking about the tests and the competition. I think I made my point there. If you're trying to get, let's say I ask you or some other online trainer, whatever, asks you to do 100 push-ups as quickly as possible. The strategy I like to use, one way to do it, one way a lot of people do it anyway, is they'll do all out as many push-ups, and again, we're controlled the whole time in this scenario, as many push-ups as they can until they totally fail and they can't do it anymore. So I wouldn't do that. I've tried it that way. You get more reps in when you cut it just a little bit short. Now you kind of got to know yourself, know what you're capable of. But if you've done a few push-ups in your day, you're going to kind of have an idea of when you can do 2 to 5 more. So let's say you do 30 push-ups in a row. You feel like maybe you could go 35. Stop it at 30. Rest about 15 seconds. Get like 5 deep breaths in. We'll start blowing out that CO2. Get back down, hit it again. Always keep like 2 to 5 in the tank. You'll be able to stretch yourself out a little further in between that rest pause approach. It's kind of like clustered set training, if you're familiar with that concept. So, yeah, the clock's still running out, cool. So that's about it. So we covered that. When you're doing a competition or a test, again, use this strategy at your own risk, but what I would do is minimize the eccentric portion, use your joints as trampolines. That's what I would do. In every other situation, you are in control the whole time. Safety, tension, all that stuff still applies, you're just doing it faster. And again, if you're doing trying to get as many as you can, and you have the option to do a rest pause, say 100 push-ups in 4 minutes, or sorry, as many push-ups as you can in 4 minutes. In that particular case, I approach it by leaving a couple in the tank, pause for 10 to 20 seconds, get my air, hit it again. Always leave a few in the tank, and then maybe in the last few seconds, just go all out, burn it out. All right, guys, thanks very much. Rob Shoecraft, 3 Storm Fitness. Please subscribe to my videos. Sorry this was a long one, but aren't they all? You're still with me.